guess we can jump into it now. First off, thanks for joining the training session here. My name is Richard Zyne. I work for Aprao. I head up our U.S. office here. Aprao was founded 6 years ago in London. Our founders came from the lending group for residential home builders. So they built Aprao to sort of be a little bit better, faster than Excel and simpler to use than an Argus system. So they start off as a real estate development model, and then we're going to be constantly evolving the software over the next year to include some more commercial real estate applications into it. And as I walk through our presentation, you'll be able to see all that. Thanks for joining. We've had an overwhelming response here. I'll try to answer as many questions as you have as possible. Like I said, if you do have any questions while I'm going through my presentation, my bottom right, maybe your bottom left, you'll see a comment box. Just click on the comment. You can type in there. I'll be periodically checking it. So I'm going to go over a few things in this training session. One, basic summary of who we are, what we do. I'm going to run through a sample deal through our model. And then at the end, we'll do a 15-minute Q&A session where I'll be able to answer any questions you may have. My goal is to get you up and running on Aprao by the end of this session. It's a pretty simple software to understand if you do have some basic real estate background. But even if you don't, you can pick it up pretty quickly. And the goal, again, to get you up and running and use it on your next real estate development platform or a project that you have coming up. One thing to point out, this is a Bullpen training session. We have, as a Bullpen freelancers, we have an exclusive 2-month free use, a limited use of our software. At the end of the second month, we're going to be working with Bullpen to get a very competitive rate for everyone that wants to continue using it. So that'll be an exclusive offer we'll have. So if everyone can see my screen now, I'll sort of go over our presentation here. So Aprao is a cloud-based financial model for real estate professionals. This is a view of our dashboard. So when you go on it, you'll see everything's sort of clean, laid out. You have what's called a team board and a personal board. I'll go over that as we go. The goal for the software system is to maximize efficiency and minimize risk. Maximize efficiency being if you can do more projects at once through our software than you could with Excel. This is going to make you quicker and faster at your job, and you'll be able to get through more projects at once. The second thing is to minimize risk. As most of you know, working with Excel, there's a lot of, you can overtype a number, you can hard code something, or circular references that can be built in there that'll throw the model off. And with a cloud-based platform that we are, everything's in the cloud. The model can't be sort of changed from a framework standpoint, but you can change all the assumptions. So at all times you're going to have the most up-to-date model, and there's no sort of broken formulas. Go over some of our key features. When I do pull up the Aprao software, you'll see on the right-hand screen or the right side of the screen is our key metrics. This is your basic feature here where at all times, any adjustment that you make, any assumption that you're going to do either on your revenue, on your cost side, it's all going to be seen on your key metric screen here. So you can see how any change affects your IRR, your return on cost, gross development value, so that when you're doing the assumptions, you can really get a good sense of, all right, if my sales have to extend out an extra 3 months, what does that do to my financing costs? Or if I'm able to speed up the project, how does that improve my IRR analysis? Second piece is cash flow forecasting. So once you sort of figure out all your assumptions in, we're going to build out the cash flow model, and I'll show you how to do all this on the software as well. And here it's again, dynamic model. You can put in all the assumptions, you can take them out, you can rearrange them very quickly. So if you say, all right, my development is going to take 12 months, but now you want to see what an 18-month development cycle looks like, you can do that with a few easy clicks, and it'll automatically push out the cash flow. So you don't have to, in Excel, you have to add columns and extend it out and copy formulas. The cloud-based system automatically copies formulas out and then contracts the formulas in. From there, you're going to get, once the cash flow models, your assumptions put in, cash flow models done, we're then going to generate a report. And this report is going to be a PDF or Excel based, and you can send this around to any of the stakeholders, lenders, any banks that you want, or to your client. And what it does is it takes all the assumptions, takes all the cash flow model, and then pulls it out into a nice visual report with a sensitivity analysis and a photo map and any sort of details you want to build in. So it sort of gives you a built-in sort of offering memorandum that you can then send around. And then another feature is obviously teamwork. Since we're completely cloud-based, we try to be as collaborative as possible. So if it's one person working on your team, or you have a team of 10 to 20, anyone can see what everyone's working on at any time. You're gonna have a team board, which is where all your projects can be saved, and that can be accessed by anyone on your team, or you can pull them into your own personal board where no one else can see but only you, and you can make your own sort of adjustments. And this is great, especially in a remote environment where individuals are sort of all over the world. You can easily pass them around and have them make adjustments to that at any time. Who uses Aprao? So typical type of people are your real estate developers, land teams, valuers, appraisers, banks, architects, and real estate consultants. So if anyone on this call is doing any of that type of work, Aprao is a good model that can help you out with a lot of your analysis. This is what our customers think. KMI is a customer of ours in Orlando. They're a cost consultant. They're basically hired by the developers to come in and assess the feasibility of different types of projects. What they love about Aprao is that they can value 10 to 15 projects a day and quickly assess the financial viability of each one, and then go back to their client and say, out of the 15 that we reviewed today, these two meet all our criteria with IRR analysis or return on cost criteria. So that's one of the great features of Aprao. So now I'll sort of go into the model. So as I said, we're completely cloud-based. So how do you access Aprao? So a lot of you have already received your login details. Most of you have probably already gone in and checked it out. But if you haven't, you just log on to our website and you go and log in. From here, you enter your details and you automatically enter into the platform. So unlike other sort of legacy software where you have to log into your own computer and then that gets logged into your server at your office and then goes into the cloud, we're seamless. We go right in, so it saves you a lot of time and effort. You can access from an iPad, iPhone, a computer, laptop, anything you want. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see the two different boards that we have. We have what's a team board, which I explained before, and then we have your personal board. The team board, here's our Aprao team board. So we have team in the United States, in Australia, and in the UK. I can see if any of them put their models into here, I can see what deals each person is working on and at which different states. And from here, I can click into each one and sort of see what they're doing. If I like the model and I want to actually work on it on my own, as opposed to working on the team board. So any adjustments that are made to the team board. So if I go in here and I make adjustments to my figures, this then gets adjusted on the team board model. So therefore, anyone that's looking on the team board is going to have the adjustments change real time. So if 3 people are working on the same project, I make an adjustment here. It's then going to make the adjustment for everyone else. If you want to do your own sort of analysis, but don't want to mess up or adjust the board, the model your team's working on, then what you would do is on the right, you send to my personal board. And when you send to your personal board, it's then going to populate on your own personal board. So these are deals that you're working on that no one else can see. All these adjustments are your own personal adjustments. It's not until it either gets sent to the team board or you share it with someone else that it's visible to anyone else. And the beauty about Aprao is that, where you want to end up is you want to end up building templates. And what I mean by templates, most people that they're working on work on the same types of projects. So 80% of the deals are going to have the same metrics, whether say you're a condo developer. You're usually building, anywhere between 10 and 20 units, and that's sort of your niche. And then from there, you have, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, this typical type of financing structure, whether it be 70% loan to cost, 80% loan to cost. All that can be templatized in a way where you can easily replicate it. So if you were looking at 10 similar deals at once, all you would have to do is, instead of creating 10, recreating 10 different models of the same similar type of projects, you could then pull up on your template board and just create a project from one of your templates. And what that does, it literally just mimics the same project over and over and over again. So you can copy that 10 different times and then run different. So all you have to do is change the assumptions on each one, and everything is built out. So you can quickly assess deals very fast. So these are the 3 different columns I have. You can name these whatever you want. I like to name them, these are projects that I'm reviewing. These are the ones I'm in due diligence, and these are live deals that I'm working on. And as any push model, you can move these along the different platforms and get them into the different states that you want. So let's look at a live project here that I'm working on. It's projects in Miami. So the easy way to set this up is you're going to put in the address to start. So the reason why you want to put in the address is because it's going to pull in a pin on a map, and that's going to go onto your report. And then you have the different features here where you can say you want tax, US dollar, euro, feet, meters. And then here is sort of what I call your deal vault. Any information that's put into this section here is going to be accessible by anyone looking into this deal. The good thing is in here, you can put your Dropbox links, you can put deal vault links, you can link to any documents because it's all linkable, and it gets, you just click on it and it'll get sent to whatever link you have on it. Or you can just put basic site information. So if you are sending this around to your colleagues, they can get a quick sense of what type of deal this is. And down here are the different scenario or the financial model analysis that you're doing. So you can start with one appraisal, and if you want to see, all right, what does it look like with, this one's with 70% loan to cost financing. What's going to look like with 90? You could then just recreate it, change the loan to cost ratio, and then you can sort of see all the different variables or versions here, and then you can get a quick assessment on which deals makes the most sense. Or you can just add a new one straight from here. So I've already created one. So this is sort of one we're going to walk through. So once I click on, so now I'm actually into the project. I'm in the deal. And now, as you can see on the right, you'll see your key metrics screen. And this is, again, always visible on your right hand. And any adjustments you're going to make to any of these tabs, you can quickly see how this is going to change on your right. I like to start with a deal that's sort of halfway done. So you can see, instead of starting from scratch, you can see actually what the inputs look like. And then at the end, you'll see sort of what an output looks like. So then you'll have a good sense on, all right, this is what I need to put in. This is where I need to put it in. And this is the outcome that's going to come out of it. So a couple key features on this screen is on your left-hand side here, this is your deal summary. So this is all text-based, so I can type anything in here. I can format it as I want. So think of this as like an offering memorandum. This is that first bit where you're sort of describing the deal. And again, you can create templates out of this. So it's sort of set out. This is what I did. I created a template because every deal that I work on, I want to get a high-level overview, zoning info, risk the deal, internal steps, and appraisal notes. And then I just templatize it. So all I need to do is at the end of the project, I just fill in some of these numbers, and then it makes it quick and easy for when my reporting comes out. And again, on the right, you have your key metrics, your percentages, summary appraisals, and then your residual site value. And all these can be closed or open depending on what you want to look at. Some people only want to see residual site value percentage. Some people just care for the key metrics. So depending on what your screen real estate that you have, you can open and close it. And another key feature here is this generate the report. So ultimately, when you're done with all the assumptions, you're going to create a cash flow statement. And then from the cash flow statement, you're going to generate a report. I like to show this at the beginning of the presentation so then you can see what all the hard work is for and what actually gets generated from the analysis. So if I click generate report, you're then going to bring you to this screen. Again, this is web format, so I can copy this, send it to anyone that I want. And they can see this analysis in front of them. So you're going to get your address, you're going to get a photo of the location. As I went over before, here's all the deal summary information that you typed in. Here's going to be your summary financial, your revenue, your site purchase, build costs, other costs, these are revenue breakdown, type of units that we're going to put in, your commercial aspect of it, site purchase, build costs, other costs, marketing, TI if you have any of that for retail, developer fees. Then you have your financing, and then finally you're going to have a sensitivity analysis. And all this comes pre-populated into the report. Everything outside of this information here is all what you put in. The rest is pre-populated from the cash flow and your assumptions. So let's go back to the model. So I guess any questions so far? Again, if anyone has any questions on anything I'm doing, feel free to type it in the message section, and I'll be able to answer them. So first tab we'll look at is your revenue. So actually, let's start with the cash flow. So the cash flow, so all the assumptions are going to be pulled into this cash flow. So as you'll see, as we start entering in the revenue, the build costs, your other costs, financing, and site purchase, it's all going to start pre-populating the cash flow. And what it's going to do is going to create sort of a bank on the left to say, all right, you inputted revenue, you are going to build 15 condo units. So it starts basically adding it all, aggregating it, and putting it on the left. And then what we're going to do is then we're going to create the cash flow by putting in the start date, the lengths, and then we're going to push out and create the cash flow. And then that'll flow down into paying down the debt and then eventually getting your equity on the bottom. So let's start with the revenue. So revenue is pretty easy to do. You can either add a residential group, add a commercial group, and add an income group. The difference between these three functions is residential group is going to be build and sell. Whereas the commercial group, we're going to capitalize the rents, and then we're going to get a disposition value from that, and we're going to bring that back. So the commercial group adds rents and distribute rents and then distributions and brings that back. The disposition value brings that back to day one, where residential is built just to build and sell. An income group are going to be any groups that you want to add in rental income. So think of it as if you have retail, think about a two-part step. One, you're calculating the disposition value, and then tab two, you're calculating any rents. Again, I want to emphasize this is a development feasibility model. So it's built to, you're going to buy the land, you're going to develop on it, and then you're going to sell. What we're working on in phase two is more of an investment, asset management, buy and hold model. So if you're buying apartment complex and you plan to build it for 2 years and then hold it for another 10 years while you stabilize rents, and you're going to increase the rents, you're going to increase occupancy, you're going to add in some inflation features, costs to ongoing costs to operate it. This model doesn't have that functionality yet for that buy and hold. This is buy, develop, and sell. So I put in a condo develop. So the project we're working on here is going to be a condo development with 2 retail units at the bottom. So here's where I create my retail or a condo mix. So I'm going to go and add the units. And when I add the units, I'm going to put the number of units. So here I put 5 units, description type, 1-1s, 1,200 square feet. And I put my sell at 1.8 million. This is, premium property in Miami Beach. So we're going to, juice up the returns a bit here. And again, all these numbers are completely interchangeable. So if I said, well, I don't want 1,200 based on my analysis, we only can do 1,000 square feet. You can always just change it, and you'll see on the right, all my key metrics start changing. So here's where I'm going to input my revenue. And you can either change it from $1 per square foot basis, total unit price basis, or $1 per square foot, or change the square footage. And then you can change all the unit types. So here I did 5 1-1s, 5 2-1s, 5 3-2s. So I have 15 units. My total sellout is going to be 42 million from selling all these units. I'm collecting a 10% deposit. My broker fee is going to be 6%, and my legal fees are going to be 0.5%. And if you wanted to break these out, so you say, all right, my 1-1s aren't all the same square footage and aren't all the same price, I could just click here, and then I can break them all down. And what this is going to do is going to break down each unit into one single units. And then from there, I can then make adjustments. But I'm going to keep it sort of high level for now because it's going to be simpler to walk through. So now that I've built out my condo income, I'm then going to build out my 2-floor commercial units. So again, there you would just click add a commercial group, and then you're going to add units to the commercial group. So I added 2 different units. So if I click on add units, you'll see I just added, the first unit, and then I'm going to add the second unit. So this is going to be 2,000 square foot retail. I'm going to get $75 a square foot. I'm giving 6 months free rent, and my yield is cap rate. So a lot of the stuff you're going to see here. So this model is initially built for the UK market, and we're doing a lot of localization for the US market. So you're going to get an update every couple of weeks. There's going to be new updates with new localizations. So I expect next week we'll have a new update on some of the language in here. So this won't say yield anymore. It'll say cap rate. And the reason why we put the cap rate here, because we want to get a disposition value from this piece of land. So now you got here, you're going to have your leasing agent fees on the leasing costs, and then you're going to put in your agent fees on the selling of the unit at the end of the project. So now that my commercial disposition value has been created, I plan to develop this project over 24 months, right? So it's be 3 months of preliminary, 18 months of development, and another 3 months to sell out the condo. And then I expect to hold the retail portion for another year, and then dispose of it at the end of the 3rd year. So I'm gonna have a year's worth of collecting rent, of which 6 months of that is rent free, which I had stated above. So I need to calculate in my 6 months of rental income. So the way I do that is I go then to create an income group. So I'm creating an income group, my retail 1. So based on here, the annual rent I got was $150,000. I'm only going to collect 6 months worth of rent. So I put in 6 months worth, so $75,000. Same thing with my second portion, $112,500. I'm only collecting 6 months of that rent. So I'm putting that. So now this is the net rent that I'll be collecting over the 3rd year of the project. So after that, all your revenue has been inputted. So you have 27,000 feet we're building. The gross development value is 46 million. My cost to basically sell, broker costs, are going to be 2.9, and then my net development value is 43 million. So now that rent is done, we're going to move on to build costs. And build costs, same thing. It's all point and click. So I'm going to add a phase. When you add the phase, I'm going to do my preliminary cost phase. And this is based on just a fixed number. So I'm going to put in 50,000 for my demolition, site setup 40,000, site insurance 25,000. I can come in, my cost consultant or insurance said it's not going to be 25, it's going to be 30,000 now. Again, all this could be changed. My preliminary costs are in. Now I'm going to get my condo construction costs. And from here, I'm going to put in my hard cost. So I'm going to say hard costs are 400 a square foot. Soft costs are 100 a square foot. Again, I can add more build cost if I want. I can take away the build cost. So I'm going to keep it high level, simple. I'm going to say 400 hard cost, 100 soft cost. So now, and then I'm going to link this to my phase 1 condo. So this is the cost to build out my condo. And now my cost to build out my commercial construction. Again, I add a phase. And this is my commercial. And from here, I'm going to say it's a little cheaper to do the commercial side of it. So I'm going to do 200 hard costs and 50 soft costs. And then from here, I can build in my contingencies as well. And just like that, all my costs have sort of been built in. So I have $12 million in costs, excluding my contingencies, 13.3, including my contingencies. So at the end of each one of these, you can sort of see how they all sort of wrap up and build up, or you can see them summed up here on the right of the screen. So now my build costs are put in there. I have some other costs. And other costs is sort of a catch-all field. So if it's not based on a percentage of one of the build portions, then you can just pick it up here on the other costs. So here's where I put in my professional costs. So I can either put it in as a percentage of the build cost or a percentage of the GDV, or I can just hard cost it in. So my architect, I say he's going to charge me 4% of my build costs. Cost consultant, flat 200,000, engineering, flat 150,000, interior miscellaneous. So I built out my professional costs. From here, I'm building my marketing costs. Again, these are all flat fees that I'm being charged. Same thing. I can always add more costs to marketing if I needed to. I can take these away if I want. I'm going to build in a bit of TI cost for the retail. So I have 100,000 for retail unit 1, 200 for retail unit 2. And then I'm going to build in a nice developer fee in here, 5% of build cost. If I wanted to add in any other groups, I just add the group name, give it a description, add the cost. And then that's it. Anything you put in here is automatically just going to get built into the cash flow. So let's take this one out. So now let's move on to the financing. You can do different types of financing structures here. I'm just going to build in a simple senior debt financing at 80% loan to cost. So here's where I would come down here. I would click add an interest lender. That was built in here. I just named it senior debt, Bank of America, 80% of cost. And here's where it gets a little tricky, but there's different things you can do here. So before building out my cash flow, right, I want to get an estimated interest drawdown schedule. So in order to do that, you either need to build out your cash flow, but if you don't have the cash flow built out, you need a model that can sort of create an estimate of it. So here we created a calculation estimator that's going to estimate the term of the loan, and it's going to estimate how much interest you're going to need to cover that. And this is built on an S-curve structure. So I keep it on estimated for now. And then you have 3 different types of interest. You can do retained, meaning it all gets, you're going to raise the interest for it, or sorry, the loan is going to pay for the interest payments. You can do rolled up, a balloon loan, so it gets paid off from the proceeds at the end, or you can do serviced, where a developer is going to pay for their own fees or pay for their own interest out of the pocket. For this one, I'm going to keep it retained interest. And here's the calculator. That's your estimated calculator. If my interest allowance was too low, so this is what I had calculated for my interest allowance, I'm going to get a orange box here that says estimated interest reserve is 1.6 million. So I need to reserve at least that amount, or it's not going to work with my estimated interest. So here I'm going to say, so 1.75 million is more than my estimated. This is what the bank's going to require. So my total facility now is $26.8 million facility at an 80% loan to cost, at a 6.5% interest rate and a term of 24 months. Again, this is just an estimated term. Once we build out the cash flow, this is going to get adjusted to the actual number. Here's where I put my commitment fees. I'm going to get 1% coming into the loan, 1% exiting the loan. And again, I can change this to whatever numbers we want. So now I've built out the debt. If you did want to add, say, some mezz portion to it, all you would do is just add another interest lender, and then you can add an extra 10% if you wanted to say 80% loan to cost was senior, 10% was taken up by the mezz. And if you wanted a profit share, basically another equity partner, you can put them in as well. But we're a single equity partner. We're only doing senior debt on this deal. And then here you can see your financing costs. So here's your total borrowing. Here's your developer equity that's going to come in, percent of development costs. And then again, you can make adjustments if you did, right now my return on cost is 21.9. But what happens if I, did 70% loan to cost? It goes up a bit, but my return on equity goes down. So if I did 80%, you'll see my return on equity goes up because I'm leveraging more. So all these adjustments can be made, and you can quickly see how that affects. We're in a rising interest rate environment. My interest rates are no longer 6.5. What happens if they go to 7.5? You'll see how that affects the model. Now I need to raise a bit more interest, so my total facility is going to be higher because I need to raise more. So if I go back to the 6.5, I have enough allocated balance. So now let's go to the site purchase. Here, similar thing. you have two different types of ways to approach this. Either you know what the landowner wants to sell it, and you can just type straight purchase price in, or you can figure out what you're willing to pay given a target return. So the target return on the bottom right, you could do it as a percent of cost or a percent of GDV. If I said my target return, I need at least 30% return on cost, then the most I can pay for the land here is $15.5 million. I can either move this over and apply it to here, or I can adjust it. On this model, I said, I was targeting a 20% return on cost. So therefore, residual land value means that it's 18 million is what I would pay. But I think I can get a better deal from the landowner. He's going to give it to me for 17.5. So I'm typing this in. But again, if I was to get him to drop it to 16 million, you can then quickly see how that affects your key metrics. Vice versa, if he says it's higher, it'll then reduces everything, and now I'm below my target return rate. So let's keep it to the target return rate. Now I've built, and then here I can put my legal fees for the land and then my agent fees. And if there's a second phase or third phase of property you need to buy, you can click here and then I'll add more to it. So that's me. I've sort of built out I put in all my assumptions. So now once all my assumptions are in, my revenue's in, my built costs are in, my other costs, my financing is in, my site purchase is in. Now I get to build out the fun cash flow. So again, building out cash flow, super simple. Like I said, we're going to do an 18-month build with 3 months prelim and then a 3-month sellout. So saying that, I'm going to start my deposits in month 12 for my condo, and then I want to I'm going to do two. I'm going to basically get pre-buys on 2 units per month. So I go in there, I put in my start is 15 or 12, my rate of 2. I click enter, and all automatically it then pushes my deposits out. So my deposit started in month 12, and then they're going to go out to month 19. Now, say I wanted to, say I didn't want it to start in month 12, I actually wanted to start in month 13, or I can change it to say I want to do 1 in month 12, and then I'm going to do 1 in month 11. All this completely interchangeable. You can add in whatever you want. And now since I deleted 1, it'll say here on the left, I have 1 unit left. So it'll always tell you how many you have to add in to be at net zero. Same thing with my balance. My balance, I'm going to start in month 22. And then I'm going to do a length of 3 months. So now my sell of the units are going to end in month 24. Remember, 18 plus the 3 prelim and then 3 months sellout. So I finished my sellout in month 24. Now my ground floor commercial, I'm going to sell it at the end of the 3rd year. So I'm simply just going to put 36, month 36, and I do a length of 1. So I hit enter, and now it put my commercial unit here at the end. So now at month 36, I sell out and I dispose of my units. Rental income, as we said, we're going to start renting the commercial space in year 3, but we gave 6 months free rent. So we're going to start the rental at month 31, and then we're going to do that for a length of 6. So yeah. So now it basically spread it out the last 6 months of the 3rd year. So now all my revenue is already built in. So now that my revenue is built in, I'm going to move on to my site purchase. Same thing here, plot of land. I'm going to put a 10% deposit. So I put, month 1, 10% deposit. So the 10% gets built in here. And then I'm going to say in month 2, I'm going to pay the remaining 90% for the land. So here's my land purchase price. Legal fees, I'm going to do, say, 50% in the 1st month, and we'll do 50% the 2nd month. Agent fees, we're going to do that at the 1st month. Sorry, close that out. So we're going to do month 1, and then we're going to do 100%. So now we got And now my build costs. So start one. Again, these are, so here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. I can either choose to straight line my costs or I can S curve the cost. Here I'm going to say I'm going to straight line my preliminary cost. I'm going to S curve my construction costs. So I'm going to say my construction costs are start in month 4, extend 18 length, and I'm going to S curve this. So now you'll see it starts month 4, and you'll see the build up. It starts smaller, then it builds up to a peak, and then it starts coming down. So at the end of month 21, I'm done with all my construction. My commercial construction aspect, I'm going to start that in month 18 for a length of 4. And I'm going to straight line that. And you'll see again, it then gets built in here. Now my professional costs, I'll move through these a bit quicker. So I'm going to start that. Month 1, architects are in the beginning. So we'll build that out there. We'll do, say, month 4, and we'll extend my cost consultant out 18 months. We'll just do these really quick. But you can sort of see how sort of quickly and easily we can then, move these, adjust these without having to build out any columns or add in any sort of Excel features to here. Marketing costs, we'll do the same thing for 18. We're almost done here. And I'll open it up for questions. CGI, same thing. We're going to do 4 and 18. And I'm quickly building out my cash flow statement. My TI, we're going to say TI starts in month 18. We're going to go out 4 for that one, 18, 4. And now my developer fee, we're going to extend that to the life of the development. And then now we go down to the lender. So the commitment coming in, we're going to go, month 1, and then coming out, we're going to go month 24. And then the commitment fee in and commitment fee coming out. And then we're done. At the end, you'll see the developer equity is coming in. Peak equity, which we had said was 4.5. So peak equity came in. Your loan kicked in on month 2. The loan gets extended. It then, as costs start ramping up, your loan increases to the 25 million, which we had said. And then now in month 22, your revenue starts kicking in. So now you start paying down the loan, and then the loan gets fully paid down in month 24. You have your exit, and then in 24, you've sold out of all your condos. So your profit at month 24 is 5.3 million. Then you're going to collect some rental income in these months, the last 3, and then you're going to collect your disposition of your commercial assets. So your profit is going to be 7.2 million. So then if I go here, 7.8 million. So from here, you'll see the total profit is 7.8 million. And then at this point, you sort of done with your model. Now I go back to my financing, and instead of doing an estimated, because I've already built out my cash flow, I'm then going to override with, I'm going to put it as the cash flow. So basically this is saying I actually need to raise, based on my cash flow, how my revenues were coming in and my sales, my condos, I actually need to raise a little bit more in interest, because it's not going to cover my interest payments. So from here, I'm going to raise it to 2.25 million, which now is going to cover my interest based on the cash flows coming in. So I went from an estimated to now an accurate. And then as you'll see, my borrowing costs went up to 26. One second here. And then from here, you then go to generate report. And again, it goes back to generating the same report that I had, but now I have all my updated figures on here, and all of these sort of information is now filled in. Whereas before it wasn't filled in yet, because we just had some basic assumptions. And then the other piece of information that's really good to note is once I'm done with the project, I could then go to my personal board and I could say, hey, I want to share this project that I worked on with, my investor. So I come in here, I could then share the project. I turn the linking on, I copy the link, and then now I can send it to someone. Now they're going to open up the link and they're going to see this view. And from here, basically the same thing that we saw, except they have one extra feature to it, is that you have this copy to your personal board. So if you were to send this to a partner, an investor of yours, and they had Aprao as well, they can then copy this to their own personal board. And then when they copy to their personal board, it'll pop up just like yours pops up here on your personal board. And you can make your own adjustments, changes, or anything you sort of want to it. So it really adds for a collaborative process. And then after they're done with their assumptions, they can then send it back to you and you can see what assumptions they made, what changes they made. If they were on your team, even better, you can then just send it to your team board. They can make their adjustments real time, and then you can pull those back into your personal board or just see them on their own team board. So that's Aprao. It's quick, it's easy. Once you've done one or two of these, you can quickly see how it just becomes a matter of just changing the assumptions as opposed to building out another model. So I see we have a few questions. I'm going to open up for questions. I see a few questions are coming in. If anyone, so what I'm going to do now, since I had everyone on mute, if you want, I can open it up to conversations. And what I'll do is then if anyone raises your hand, meaning on the middle of the screen, you'll see a hand button. If anyone clicks on that, I can basically see who have a question. I could then call upon you guys. So let me open this up. Turn on their microphone. Perfect. So now you can then unmute yourself and then talk. So let me open it up to Brady.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Brady.
Hi. Yes, my question was along the lines of adding team members to the project. Are you able, because as I saw, you were adding different things. Is it possible to add like project manager to it, or do those people get put in as a soft cost or something like that? Are you able to add team members?
And these are for costs, is that what you're saying, or add them to the project to view your model?
For the project to view the model. If you could go back to where you were populating.
Yes. So there's two ways to do that. You can share the model with them. So if you can see my screen.
I'm not necessarily saying share the project with them, but actually add them as a cost to the project.
Yeah. So you can add them in the cost in two different sections. Okay. I would add them to the other costs. So you can then come in here and what you said, a project manager?
Yes, that's fine. Yeah.
So you can just say, project manager. So I just added a group and now I'm at a cost. And I can just say project manager. And then do you pay them fixed or you pay them as a percentage of bill costs or
it'd be probably fixed.
Fixed. So yeah, you can, I don't know, 250,000. Again, very expensive project manager, 250,000. And then now, they've been added in. So then I can go to my cash flow and then I'll see project managers here. So it means I need to allocate him. So I'm going to start him, same thing. I can start him in month 4 and extend him through the life of the project. And now his cost has been now added to, and then you can go back to your metrics, and then you can see sort of how that affects. So actually the best way to do it is you can see here. So now I have this 250. My return on cost is 19%. My project IRR is 20. If I didn't have that expense in there, it bumps up to 20%.
And then that would also be added to the report somewhere as well.
Yep. So then project manager. So now I generate the report. And you'll see in my expense breakdown, you'll see where is it? Here, project manager.
Okay.
$250,000.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
won't hire.
The good thing on the other costs is, again, all you're doing is just adding items and removing items. There's no need to sort of futz around with adding Excel line items or anything like that. So
Let me ask you another question. Would I be able to just make a line item that says team members and then sub team members, project manager,
yep, you
consultant,
can
that kind
you
of
just
thing?
click this description, and then you'll just say team members, and then now you can add, here you just do
I see.
member 2, and then you'll say he's, he or she's 50,000, and you can do, member 3, 75,000, and then the same thing. It'll then get pulled into your cash flow. You'll then need to allocate that in the proper months, and then it'll feed into your report.
Great. Those are expensive people. I won't be hiring them. But thank you for showing me how to use it.
Well, those, you can always bump them up or bump them down. You can see what oh, that's too much. Let's move them down to 75,000. So there we go.
Thank you very much.
There we go. See, and you can quickly see how that affects your numbers. Well, is there anyone else that have any questions, or Ronald Williams?
Yes, I was asking about the steps that you took to actually begin the assumptions. I ask because when I click on appraisals, add new, it just shows that I've reached the maximum number of appraisals included in my plan. So I wasn't sure if that was the steps that you had taken to get to this assumptions section, or was there some other?
You should have full access to it, because you're getting 2 months of access for everything. So you should have access to it. I'm going to take your information down here, and I'm going to look into that one just to make sure. Let me take it
Okay.
down.
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah, so everyone here should have full access to it. If you don't, you will at the end of this call, because our freemium gives you 2 appraisals at a time. But you guys, again, because of Bullpen, you're getting full access for 2 months. So if anyone has that issue, just write that in the comments. I see Matt wrote that as well. So and I'll make sure to add you in there. But yes, but what you should do is you'll just add a new one, and then you can just start from scratch. So you can do, like, same thing, model 2, you'll create it, and then it pulls you in, and then now you can start building out your revenue, your build costs, your finance costs. So from here, I could add my units, 5 units, 1, 2, 1,500 square feet at, value per unit, I don't know, 500,000. And then that can, now I've built in my revenue for the 5 units. And then the same thing with your built cost. You can say, construction, I'm linking it to my units, 7,500. I'm going to say 100. My built cost, I'm going to, hard costs. We're going to say hard costs are, I don't know, 150. Soft costs, 50. Again, low numbers, but you get the idea. So now I've have my revenue of 2.4 million, and now my costs are 1.6 million. My target profit, my profit right now is $800,000, and then I can now build in my other costs. I can just say, miscellaneous here, add costs, miscellaneous, and I'll do 5% of built, or let's do 10% of built costs, add that cost, and then we build a basic 80% retained interest, I don't know, 5%, term 24, I do here 70,000. Right, so now I've done a quick model here, where then I can then just go to my site purchase, and then now based on all these assumptions, I can pay, in order to hit a 20% target return, I can pay 157 for the plot of land, which probably means I need to, increase my units here, and then need to increase my sell to 500. Now I can pay up to 2 million. So now I pay 2 million for the plot of land, and I built out my model. I paid 2 million. I make 1.2 million. My return on cost is 20%. And we just did a very quick, basic, easy model and it took us 5 minutes. And the goal is to do this. So say you have a broker sending you 10 deals a day, is you can now I create a template of this. All I need to do is change my unit type mix. I can change my built cost numbers, my other costs. I can adjust some of the financing here. Let's see here, we need to go to 230,000. And then now I'm going out for a $4.7 million loan. And I could pay $2 million for the plot of land. So, Malik.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. So, Malik, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey, everything is going terrific presentation. By the way, I'm just curious about if you're able to switch from months to years in terms of the cash flow.
So the cash flow is built in months right now. So the way to do that is to do this: is you go into your personal board. Well, the other thing good thing you asked that question. One of the things you can do is on the cash flow is I can actually export this into Excel. So you can export it into Excel, and then so you can see it's basically all hard coded. So right now here's your Excel sheet with all the cash flows that I have, and it's built out monthly. If you wanted to, here is where you can sort of sum it up yearly if you wanted to. But right now we don't have the functionality to do the cash flow on a monthly on a yearly basis.
So
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's like a cheat way to do it though, but would just changing your name of months to years benefit everything?
No. So you just want to see it like on a cash flow. You just want to sort of visually see it, what it looks like on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you would, you can generate let me see if generating the report that gives you what you're looking for. No, it's not going to give you the cash flow breakout here. Yeah. So right now, the best thing to do would be to then export it into Excel. And then from the export, you can then sort of summarize it. You basically sum it up to view it from a yearly basis. But it's a good point. We're constantly making updates to our model. We get asked that question a bunch, and it's on our roadmap over the next 3 months to be able to view the cash flow statement on a yearly basis. That is in our roadmap.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm view. And I think that also goes into another question. I guess Derek had pointed out. What other enhancement models do you have planned? I play more in the build to rent and short-term rental space. We're constantly updating our models. So right now, this is a residential development build to sell model. It does handle some retail, as you saw in my example, and it does handle some rental income. Over the next 6 months, we're going to be probably on a month-to-month basis adding new types of models to our platform. Step 1 was to get the bones and structure going. Step 2 is now to add more functionality, and the biggest functionality is on our commercial side of the business. I have a commercial background. I worked at Newmark, Cantor Fitzgerald on the banking side, and then I was working at Newmark on the capital market lending side. So we're all working together, and the team really wants to improve on that as well. So we're going to have a lot of more commercial functionality. One being the build to rent, short-term rental, apartment complex, self-storage, office, more on the lines of sort of an asset model. So we'll never be a full asset model, but we'd like to at least play within sort of the middle ground where it can be simple and easy. So one of the things we want to do is, build the rent. I buy an existing home or a bunch of existing homes. I'm going to spend, X dollars to refurbish them. And then I'm going to start renting them. I want to increase rents, 5% a year. My occupancy rates, I want to increase as well. Or I want to at least change them based on the year, on the month. And then I'm going to put in all my operating costs in there to get a proper NOI. And then from that NOI, we can get a disposition value in say year 7. And that functionality will be built in over the next 6 months. We'll definitely have that in 6 months. My goal is in the next 2 to 3 months, we'll have that functionality built in. And then over the next, say, year or two, we're then going to have every asset class you can imagine in our sort of universal team board. So at any time, if you ever said, I want a build to rent model, you can then go into our personal team board. We'll then send you that, and then you can just populate it right into your model. So you don't have to worry about downloading an Excel model and sort of seeing if you have the right version. You'll always have sort of the right version because that'll be within our ecosystem. Is there anyone else has any questions? Brady.
Just one more quick question. In terms of exporting into Excel, is it just exporting the values, or do the formulas go in?
It exports the values. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It exports the value because our view is we don't want people using Excel per se. We just had it more for if they wanted to put it into some reporting or feed it into one of their other models that they had. We offer that. But we sort of want to keep you working within the ecosystem because we think it's just a better way of operating.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Ronald. I think you're on mute, Ronald.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
For the construction component for the build timing, was that the total cost for the straight line or the curve method, or does it break it down for like interest reserves and things like that are part of the construction process?
Yeah, so what we have here is, let me see here. So we have our you mean the contingency percent?
Well, like the interest reserve, I know a lot of times for the construction projects, a lot of it is paid through the
on the financing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So the finance here, we have our interest allowance.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what we're saying here is, based on this cash flow, we're gonna need at least $2.1 million or 2.16 in interest to so we can do interest in 3 ways. Either we can overraise in our senior debt to capitalize the interest, which is what we did here, which is why we had the retained interest. So we're overraising or we're overcapitalizing by 2.25 million in order to pay the interest, and that interest gets paid on an S or as needed, as is basis. In the assumption, it gets built in like an S curve. But based on the cash flow, it'll know, all right, if I have more cash available, I'm then going to pay down as much as possible. So that all gets built in. Or I can say it's rolled up, so it's a balloon, so I don't have to pay the interest until the end. So I can just move that to a rolled up. Or I can say serviced, meaning the developer or the equity holder is going to pay the interest themselves. Typically, it's kept retained. And then, like I said, an estimated, we were estimating 1.6 needed, but after doing the cash flow based on the revenues coming in, we're actually going to need 2.25 in order to facilitate that. So your total, developer equity is 9.2 million, and then you're raising 26 or 27, and then you'll see down here the interest payments. Where is it?
Perfect. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, here's your retained. Yeah, your retained is here. So now that gets paid. So you'll see the interest payments getting paid here.
Okay. Perfect.
right? So it rolls up, it gets, bigger, and then sort of starts getting smaller as, the last couple months, and then it gets all paid off. The whole loan gets paid off sometime. It starts getting paid down here, and then fully gets paid off here. So now you have no debt left.
Right. Okay. Yep. Thanks, Rich.
Yep. And like I say here, you can add sort of a mezz component if you want. So you can say, add another, call this, I don't know, Chase. You can say Chase. You can add, 10%. So now you're adding a little bit here. There's 10%. Term 24, right? And we can do 3. So right, so now your return on equity is going up because you just added in a mezz piece to it, and then you could add your fees in, and then you'll see in the cash flow. So now your mezz component is down here. So you had your senior debt component up here, and now you have your mezz component here. So now you added the two sides, and all you need to do is your commitment fees coming in and out.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks again.
Cool. Malik.
Is an amortization schedule baked into this?
Amortization of what portion?
I'd like the interest, calculating the finance and interest rate on particular loans.
Yeah, so here's where it's let me take out the mezz portion. It could be a little confusing. Yeah, so here's your debt. So you start off, your developer puts in his equity coming in down here. That's able to cover a lot of the costs, initial cost. Now you need to purchase the land. So now your facility kicks in because you had 24 million. So that's 13 million is kicking in. And now, 14 because more expenses, then you start collecting some prepayments. So then you don't need to sort of raise as much. And then now everything starts getting paid down. So it basically pays down as soon as you have the cash, and then the interest is interest on borrowed. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the model's like if there is cash, they're going to try to pay down the loan, as quickly as possible from the cash that's in there. And then it'll, pay it off as soon as it can. So it sort of has that own sort of waterfall pay down structure already built in.
Has a waterfall structure already built in?
Well, I mean, pay down structure is what I meant, not a waterfall structure. We're waterfall structure we will have on the equity. So that's also in our development plan. So again, next 3 to 6 months, we're going to have a waterfall on the equity side. So you'll have a typical GP, LP waterfall structure. We'll have a preferred return. Anything above the preferred return will then get split at 80-20, or basically you can put in whatever structure you want. Or you can do a multi-tiered return. You can do a 12, 16, 18, or sort of however you want to structure it out. But that's being built as well. We're just trying to figure out what, as anything, where you start. But that's on our priority list to get built in.
So it sounds like within the next year, there'll be a way more pluses, more perks to using Aprao.
I think over the next 5 years, we're constantly going to be reiterating. So in a dream world where our team would love to be is that the financial model sits at the center of everything, and then you're pulling in your assumptions. So imagine if this was connected to, say, a CoStar, or connected to some other platform that was pulling in data. So now you can instantaneously through an API call pull in your assumptions on revenue, pull in your it ties into your cost accountant, and now your cost manager is automatically filling in all the assumption data And then all you're really doing is looking at the assumptions and then making slight tweaks because you sort of know the market, or putting in certain costs that you got that's not sort of market norm. So you're able to pull in as much data as possible and then export as much data as possible. So on that reporting sheet, right now we just have a basic sensitivity analysis. We're going to be adding pie chart breakout of unit mix. So you're going to say, all right, what percentage is 1 bedroom versus 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom? What percentage is office versus, say, hotel, if you had an office hotel development. And you can sort of have more sort of visual breakouts. And that's really the selling point to Aprao, is that, Excel can run basic analysis. And if you're really good at Excel, you can run pretty, in-depth analysis, but you're not getting sort of the plugins that are coming in to make your life a lot easier. You're not getting the simplicity of being able to train up staff, on an easier platform than if they haven't really been running Excel. You don't get a lot of the visual features and dashboards that Excel doesn't provide. So that's where we're trying to take this sort of to the next level, while still being, we don't want to be where Argus is, where, it takes a, college degree on Argus to figure out how to use it. And, you're figuring it out over a year. We want to still make it simple, easy to use, but have all the functionality that, anyone can take to the company they're working for. So, the ideal thing is you're now, what took you, say, 5 hours or a couple days to build out a model, you're able to build out the same type of models in, a fraction of the time. So instead of working on 1 deal a week with a client, you can now do 2 or 3 of them because you're a lot faster in the way you operate. And then that's where our sort of pricing model comes in, where it makes sense. You're closing more deals, you're working on more projects because of Aprao, and that justifies sort of the switch from Excel or switch from Argus.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we wrap up here? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. By all means, feel free to reach out to me if anyone has any questions. If you want a follow-up on any particular section that I went over, if you need some more clarification, I'm more than happy to do some one-on-ones. My goal, again, is for everyone to use Aprao, to get the value out of it, to bring it into other projects you're working on, show it to other companies, other customers, and sort of spread the word and value of what we're trying to do. And if you do know anyone that wants to use Aprao, or any companies that you're working with that are interested in signing on, we can extend other trial memberships to them. They may not get the same great deal that you guys are getting through Bullpen, but we can definitely work out some sort of structure. Also, if you bring in anyone that converts into a client, we do have, we'll give you discounts on your software, or we have paid referral plans. There's always something we can do to work together. I know a lot of you are most are freelancers or working with the Bullpen platform, and you're working with different companies. So this is a great time if that does come up, if someone says, hey, I'd like to be part of Aprao, I'd like to test it out and eventually sign up, we can then work together to figure that out. And at the end of the 2 months, again, we're not going to leave everyone high and dry. We always have a freemium plan, which essentially means you have 2 months, 2 projects that you can work on for free at a time. But ultimately, we'd love everyone to be using it and getting onto a very good competitive paid plan that we had that gives you full access, and it's paying for itself because you're doing more projects, closing more deals, doing work faster and easier. So you want to be using it. So that's where we want to be. So thank you again. If you need to reach out to me, my email is rich@aprao.com. It's RICH@aprao.com. Again, feel free to message me, send me any info. Again, thanks a lot, and I look forward to you guys using Aprao, and if you need me, give me a call.